In this movie, I'll show you how to create your very own custom graphic style. And I'm going to try it out on this text. So the first thing I'm going to do is clear out everything I've applied so far by clicking on this very first graphic style in the top left corner of the panel. And that's going to give me a black stroke and a white fill and nothing more. All right, now I'm going to start things off by setting this stroke right here to a 9-point line weight to make it nice and thick, and also round off the corners by clicking on the word stroke and switching the corner setting to round join. Now the problem at this point is I have the stroke on top of the fill, which is rarely a good idea when you're working with text, because that means the stroke is cutting into the letter forms. So I'll go ahead and grab the fill and move it to on top of the stroke like so, and then I'll click on the fill's color swatch and I'll set it to this light shade of blue. All right, now I want to offset the stroke, so I'll go ahead and click on the stroke. Then I'll click on the FX icon in the bottom left corner of the appearance panel. I'll choose Distort and Transform, and then I'll choose the Transform effect. And I'll dial in a horizontal move value of -2 and a vertical value of 1, which I can see if I turn on the preview checkbox, moves the stroke down 1 pixel and 2 pixels to the left, at which point I'll click OK. All right, now I want to make a couple of copies of this stroke, and so with the stroke active, I'll click on a little page icon in the bottom right corner of the appearance panel, and then I'll click on that stroke, that second stroke there, and change its line weight to 21 points, and then I'll click on the color icon and change it to white this time around. And I want to offset it a little differently, so I'll click on the word transform right there, and I'll take the horizontal value down to -4 points and click OK, and that goes ahead and shifts the stroke ever so slightly. All right, now I want to make a copy of this one by clicking on it and then clicking on the page icon. And now I'll select the bottom stroke, change its line weight to 33 points, click on its color and change it to this darker shade of blue right there. Then I'll click on its transform effect once again, take the horizontal value down to -7 and the vertical value up to 3 points, which looks like this, and then click OK. All right, now I want to burn that color into the background, and so I'll click on the word opacity right here, the one that's inset, not the one at the bottom. Click on the inset opacity item to bring up the transparency panel and change the blend mode from normal to multiply in order to achieve this effect here. All right, now I want to apply some overall effects, so I'll click on the type item at the top of the appearance panel. And that way, I'm not just affecting a fill or a stroke, and in fact, I'm going to go ahead and twirl these guys close, just to give myself a little more room to work. And then I'll go up to the Effect menu, choose Path, and then choose Offset Path. And what that's going to do, if I turn on the Preview checkbox, is expand my letter forms like crazy to the tune of 10 points all the way around, which is a little bit bold for my taste, so I'm going to take that offset value down to 3 points, and then I'll click OK to accept that effect. So here's the difference it makes. This is without Offset Path, and this is with. So we're essentially taking this bold type and making it even bolder. All right, now I'll click on the word type again, just to make sure the entire object is active, and I'll go up to the Effect menu, choose Distort and Transform, and choose Pucker and Bloat. And I'll turn on the Preview checkbox so you can see, if I click on this value and press Shift Up arrow, I bloat the letters, which causes them to puff outward, whereas if I press Shift Down arrow, I pucker the letters as we're seeing here. So these edges are moving inward all the way around, which I quite like. So -10%, click OK. And then finally, I want to rotate the letters. So I'll go up to the Effect menu, choose Distort and Transform, and choose the Transform command. And now I'll click in the angle value and press Shift Up arrow in order to achieve 10 degrees, turn on the Preview checkbox. I get this effect here, which I very much like, so I'll click OK. All right, now let's say you like what you've come up with and you figure you've spent a sufficient amount of time on it, that you want to save all of your fill and stroke attributes, as well as your dynamic effects as a graphic style. In that case, you can just click on a little page icon, but if you do that, you'll create an unnamed graphic style, which is not my favorite way to work. So if you want to name it as you create it, then press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac and click on the page icon, and then I'll just go ahead and call this guy Scallop, let's say, and click OK. And now let's say you want to apply these styles to, for example, these polygons right here. I'll click on one and shift click on the other. And if you take a close look at either of these guys, you'll see that they have dynamic effects assigned to them in the form of this transform effect right there. And so I'll go ahead and click on it, and you can see what I've done is I've left the horizontal scale value set to 100%, and I've taken the vertical scale value up to 150%. So I'll just go ahead and cancel out. And the whole reason, as you might imagine, is that I wanted to stretch these polygons. And so now let's say I want to apply some additional effects to them, then I would just go ahead and make sure that the compound path item is active here inside the appearance panel. Actually, that's not going to make any difference at all, because notice, as soon as I click on scalloped, I get rid of that previous transform effect that I had before, and I replace it with this new one right there, which rotates the polygons 10 degrees. So if I wanted to continue to stretch them, I would have to enter vertical values of 150 degrees and turn on the preview checkbox in order to see this effect here. And so that's something that's really important to bear in mind. I'll go ahead and click OK, is that when you apply a style by clicking on it, you're wiping out all the fills and strokes and dynamic effects and replacing them with new ones. At least that's how it works by default. I'll show you a different way of working in a later movie. But for now, I'll go ahead and press Control-0 or Command-0 on the Mac, and then Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A in order to deselect my artwork. And that, folks, is how you create your own custom graphic style to save out a collection of fills, strokes, and dynamic effects here inside Illustrator.